John?
All right, thank you.
I don't think that's on. I'm not sure.
It is now on.
Okay.
Good deal.
Perfect.
So if you missed it, I am John Withers. I'm talking about Tanzi and the last match, and then interactive and immersive theater. Not to live into stereotypes, but I write interactive prose, predominantly books. Also dabble a little bit in twine. I'm getting more into that every passing month. I speak on video games and theater kind of broadly, and I hate sports. But I don't really understand sports. I understand playing sports. I love the activity, the camaraderie, the kind of the win-loss ratio possibilities. I love being active in it. But the idea of watching sports always kind of mystified me. I do like sports when they're live. TV sports are a whole different thing. But live sports make sense to me because, again, you've got a piece of you that becomes part of the team, right? There's an immersive quality to a live sporting event, especially here in Pittsburgh. I did some PhD studies at Indiana University of Pittsburgh, just east down the 22. I did a lot of time with black and gold everything, right? My pirate shirt on today. It's just good costuming. The Pirates, the Pens, the Steelers, all the same colors. Just really good costume choices. I'm from Charlotte myself, and our team colors actually clash with each other, which is horrible. Who did that? So I'm very much a theater kid trying to talk about sports today. I want to make you very aware of that from the get-go. When I do think about sports, I love sports condensed down into a 12-hour movie. Give me the entire highs and lows, and will they, won't they, give it to me quick, right? And I love professional wrestling because it is very much a televised sport that has figured out how to become immersive in various ways through the TV sets. And they do that with marketing and toys and all the kind of peripheral sales. But I'm really into the idea of wrestling as theater. There was a point in my life that I just loved the steroids and the spandex and the show they were giving me. And there's become a point in my life where I've really kind of started digging into the theatrics of the wrestling performance, particularly television wrestling, which changes that theatrical piece completely. Wrestling as a sport, wrestling entertainment, I suppose, if we're being completely 1998 New Jersey approved, wrestling as sports entertainment, right? Wrestling as sports entertainment has that kind of built-in storyline, the good guy, the bad guy, and it becomes completely immersive. They want you to be very active and engaged with the show. It is not a prim and proper Ibsen play. It is a son of a bitch, hit that son of a bitch again, blah, blah, blah kind of thing, right? They want you to become that moment in that spectator, that fan that they're trying to create. And it becomes very immersive, like many live sporting events do, but they're also interactive. We often think about sports and wrestling as immersive, but it's also interactive because not all of these matches are completely set. Yes, there's a programming. Yes, there is a idea of storylines, but there's also a time where the crowd's reaction is going to set the match. That's especially true in smaller productions, non-televised wrestling matches. But when you get to the big televised or online streaming wrestling matches, there are some matches that are going to go with the pop. So if the crowd's cheering for one person, they're going to win, and they'll figure that out as they're doing the performance of the match. More commonly, there's matches that go against the pop. If you want someone to win, their adversary is going to win because that will sell you tickets next week for the rematch, right? And the rematch is actually more important because it's a different ticket sale than who wins today in a very crass economic kind of look at that theatrical. But the wrestling itself has that built-in immersiveness and sometimes interactivity. And often when we're looking at immersive and interactive, we see those words paired together, almost as if they're linked together, which I think is a bit problematic sometimes. I've often seen reviews talking about immersive and interactive to link together, and then looked at that media and thought, well, it's one, but is it the other? Am I the odd person out for not seeing the other part of it, or am I the odd person out thinking that the reviewer is wrong, right? And I really do think we need to make sure we're considering immersive and interactive, both great ideas, but as separate ideas. And wrestling does that fairly well. There are two plays getting to the theater, not just the theatrics of the professional wrestling, getting to the theater part of today's talk. There are two plays I want to talk about. One is Trafford Tanzi, which is a 1980s play by Claire Luckman with Chris Monks on the score. So it's a musical. I mean, it's very much a wrestling immersive play. It is not interactive at all, but it's very much an immersive play. It's an interesting play to me because it has a almost impossible staging. It is not just black box, but it's a very specific sort of black box where they want you to stage it like a wrestling match. They want you to reset your entire theater, to put a ring in the middle, and then to have the audience on both sides. They want you to allow concessions and drinks and banners and signs. They want you to be as as non-theater as your theater can possibly be. Then they want you to find a couple actors that can sing and dance and wrestle each other. It sounds like one of the most dangerous plays to ever produce. It does not get produced often, clearly. And when it does get produced, the reason the title of this talk is T.Tanzi and not Trafford Tanzi is because Claire Luckman wants you to change the first word to a city or a state near you. So if you're in Australia, this was Tasmania Tanzi. The American production that was probably the most popular American production was when it bombed on Broadway. The Broadway bomb was actually called Teaneck Tanzi, playing off a city in New Jersey, right? And so it's a very frustrating play to research because it's something Tanzi. Ignore the first half. It often gets small theaters try it. A lot of colleges have tried it over the years. And if you dig deep enough into those spaces, you can see it. And it absolutely is a wonderful immersive play, very much set in the 1980s. It's a very specific sort of feminism. It's a female wrestler who's married to a male wrestler and the power play in their relationship. But also she's the focus, so it's the power play in her entire history, played out with basically three actors. You've got him, you've got her, and you've got one or two other people kind of changing roles the entire night, including the referee. They all get musical numbers. It's great. But it's completely immersive. But unless your student theater is getting completely strange with it, it's going to end the exact same way that Claire Luckman wrote it in 1980. Not saying some student production hasn't went some other way with it, because college productions are wonderful, but it's going to be the show that she wants it to be, which is a wonderful thing. When I was trying to research and finding this and wanting to write more about this and just becoming in love with this play, I actually found Last Match, a pro wrestling rock musical. And The Last Match, a pro wrestling rock musical, is a 2022 play that is very similar to Tanzi. I've yet to find any connection that anyone involved knew about this rare 1980s British play, but man, they're very similar. They're both musicals, both very rock and roll influenced, one a little bit more 2020 than 1980. The Last Match, a pro wrestling rock musical, actually has a huge cast of creators, including pro wrestlers, which I think is a wonderful addition to the new version. They actually have wrestlers that wrestle the match as the actors, and they also have wrestlers that are doing the booking. Some of the co-scripting credits go to some actual professional wrestlers. So it's kind of a little bit more focused look at modern wrestling versus 1980s wrestling. They pair really well together, but again, completely immersive, because that's the environment they want. It has won a lot of awards off Broadway, but not interactive. And that to me seems really striking, because the wrestling that they're talking about could be interactive, but I've yet to find a play that has both the immersive and the interactive qualities. You're already asking someone to sing and dance in a wrestling musical, but you're also asking them to perform the wrestling moves, the drop kicks, the elbows, the top rope, big, climax kind of piece. It would be almost impossible to then ask them to know 3 different endings to your play, right? And so I kind of understand it, but I'm mystified by the fact this hybrid object does not exist, that the interactive / immersive play isn't out there somewhere. But because it's not, it's a good moment to point out that interactive / immersive probably isn't the right terminology anyway. Interactive and immersive may be correct in some cases, but interactive and immersive are two different spectrums that need to be separated, right? So that's what I want to talk about today, was both these plays just for a moment, and then I want to talk a little bit about kind of that piece. And as someone that writes various interactive and various immersive plays and books and video game twines. It was helpful for me, and so I thought it might be helpful for you as well. Okay? And that was it. Thank you.